This is Pocket. I never go anywhere without it. At the tap of a button, it records and creates organized notes based on your conversations. I use it at work, at the doctor's.
Good afternoon, still afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining. Winaga, what do you claim? No, Lukanda. What do you claim? You claim to hate Tumbuka people, yet you always have Tumbuka songs playing in the background. It sounds like you secretly want to be Tumbuka, but you just can't be. You see, that's how Malayans think. Like, Where have I claimed to hate Tumbuka people? Eh? Those that know me, my daughter is half Tumbuka. My daughter is half Tumbuka. Those that know me. And when I'm angry, before you went on, my family, I go ganga in Christina Sirombera. Christina Sirombera Kwizombe. She was married before she was married to my granddad, to my granny, to my grandfather rather. She was married to Endovi. So in my family, part of our family, they are part of my family. So I'm partly Tumbuka because my part of my family is Tumbuka. So when I have good confidence to criticize Tumbuka because I'm criticizing my own family, and I know Tumbukas because I've lived with Tumbukas. As I'm telling you, my daughter is half Tumbuka and half Manganja, which is my tribe, you know. So you speak no Lukanga, you're speaking nonsense. I've never claimed to hate Tumbuka. I've never said that. And why would I hate Tumbuka people? Tumbuka people are very engaging, you know. They're engaging and they're very you know, they are, you know, they in Africa we speak of Nigerians as being proud, and proud Nigerian imathandiza moyo kulimbigira, imathandiza moyo kukala ambitious Nigerians. A positive thing about Nigeria. That's another positive thing about the Tumbuka tribe, is that it's very proud. And that pride, they don't want to kukala zisiru moyo. They work hard and all that. Yeah, and they will make sure kudizi end as it take. So I am Tumbuka by family, and Tumbuka. My granny was married to a Tumbuka before she got married to Ngoni from Nankwali thereabout. So people are, you know, people just don't want to be criticized. The moment you criticize a Malawian, amadi umuda, you hate them because wampanga criticize. When you point out things, you hate Tumbukas. And I'm Tumbuka, but because my daughter is Tumbuka, my granny was married to a Tumbuka. My auntie Zanga, they are Tumbukas. You know, they are the Ndovis. The Ndovis are part of my family. So that's why I've got confidence to speak about Tumbukas, because the Tumbukas or the Northerners, because the Northerners will not say, hey, I mean, regionalism or tribalism. How can I be tribalistic when I'm part of you? I'm part of the Northerners. You know. Actually, how people from the north have reacted to my criticism is a confirmation of what I'm saying, because they are not engaging with what I'm saying. They're just saying, people from the north. Akudana ndia antu aku north ineyo. Ineyo by north by the ineyo aku north by marriage, by family, you know. Tatenti mvele na madingo sana ambi life. Sina bempere. Wati so pakali panonga Angelano anigetse kugetse mani Let us pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Atate athu muli mwamba, dzina lanu liyeretsedwe, ufumu wanu udze, kufuna kwanu kuchitidwe, monga kumwamba choncho pansi pano. Mutipatse ife lero chakudya chathu cha lero, mutikhululukire ife zochimwa zathu, monga ifenso takhululukira adani athu, musatisiye ife mchinyengo, koma mutipulumutse ife kwa zoyipa. Atate achifundo, tikuthokozani chifukwa cha mphatso ya moyo, tikupemphani kuti mupitirize kutiteteza ndi kutipatsa moyo wa thanzi, moyo wa mphamvu, ndipo mufikire wina aliyense amene pathupi pake pali kunyung'unya ku matenda osiyanasiyana ndi kuchiza, chifukwa inu ndi mchizi. Yesu mwana wa Mulungu wa moyo, tikhuzeni wina paina paliponse pamene tili, fikirani tonse kuti kutithandiza kuti tithe kupeza bwino, monga mmene munamchizira mother-in-law of Simon Peter. Mutikhuzenso ife pamene tikufuna kutumikirani. Tikupempha zonsezi mwa Yesu Khristu mwe Ambuye athu. Amen. M'dzina la Atate ndi la Mwana ndi la Mzimu Woyera. Amen. Abale anga okondeka Amalawi kulikonse kumene muli, ndabweranso ine mwana wanu Alexius Kamangira, amene nkhani yanga ikulu ndi yachilungamo. I am an advocate for justice. I advocate for justice. Ndakhala ndigwira ntchito imeneyi kwa zaka zambiri. Koma nkhani imene yabwera pano si ya Alexius, kuti Alexius ndi ndani. Nkhani imene yabwera pano ndikufuna nditambasule za nkhanza zomwe analandira anthu ochokera maiko ena, amene mwachidule timanena kuti ma refugees. Koma mgulu limene lili muli anthu ambirimbiri. Ena anali kuti ni ma refugees idi, ena anali kuti ni ma investors. They had become investors by virtue of the business that they were doing. Ena anali anthu amene anali ma asylum seekers. Ma asylum seekers anthu amene amakhala kufuna kupempha kuti dziko lawo kumene afikiralo kuchoka maiko awo liavomere kuti azikhala mdzikomo ngati nzika ya maziko ya mdzikomo. So panali anthu ambirimbiri amene zinthu zimene zinakhuza, ndipo musamale yake kapena kuti mwachidule kwa kungozifotokoza mwachidule mwina in seconds, nzonena kuti boma la Malawi linasiya kusatira malamulo, linapanga nkhanza, linagwirira azimayi, anthu anamangidwa mosavomerezeka, anthu ankapitisidwa m'manyumba mwawo, kunkapita apolisi, asilikali komanso anyamata achipani. Izizi ndikamakamba mwina ena mutha kugwidwa manyazi kamenanso mwina chisoni, kapenanso ena kuzizidwa thupi nkuona ngati mwina tingoonjezera, koma nkhani zinachitika. Pena ndiziwerenga chifukwa nkhani ndi yayikulu, ndi nkhani yonena kuti ndikupempha dziko la Malawi kunena kuti lipange inquiry, commission of inquiry. Minister of Homeland Affairs Mukito komanso Honorable Chisale, this issue muitenge serious. I'll be writing you in the week that is coming. Week imene kubwera ndiye mbera chibaluwa Minister of Homeland Affairs komanso Minister of Homeland Security komanso Foreign Affairs kuti nkhani imeneyi komanso Minister of Justice anthu onsewa ndi alembera kalata. Pempho ndilonena kunena kuti nkhanza zimene anthu amene wawo analandira zifufuzidwe, ndipo amene anali responsible onsewo alandire chilango. Koma padali panopa pali anthu atatu amene ndimaziwa ndi umboni ogwirika bwinobwino kuti anali responsible kupanga nkhanza zoopsa, amene anasogolera kupanga nkhanza kwa anthu ochokera maiko ena. Anali azikhale ng'oma amene anali Minister of Homeland, ndipo ena anali Dr. Stephen Kayuni amene anali PS wa ku Homeland, komanso Justice Kenyatta Nyirenda amene anapasidwa milandu yonseyi ndipo ankangoyikhalira milandu ija osanong'osora bwinobwino. So there was a lot of things including corruption that was coming in the context of political influence, in the context of soliciting money from these refugees and these asylum seekers and the investors and all that. So tikambirana zambiri, ndikuyesa kuti tiyankhulane in 1 hour. I should be done in 1 hour. Musa ndiyamba kufotokoza mchizungu chifukwa this is an international issue. Sindikuyankhulana ndi Malawi nokha, ndikuyankhulana ndi United Nations, ndikuyankhulana ndi the globe. The crimes amene anachitika ku Malawi, they are a concern to the whole world, and the failure of government to hold accountable the responsible people, and also to remedy the violations of human rights. It's a violation in itself, and that's where we're going. And this is Minister of Foreign Affairs. This is serious. I'm speaking to you directly. Minister of Homeland Affairs, the Minister of Justice, and all other responsible people. This issue is huge. The inquiry is urgent, more urgent than some other inquiries that are about to happen. I will not mention which inquiries, but this inquiry is urgent. It speaks to the heart of what we are as Malawians. We're quick to talk about South Africa, the xenophobia that happened in South Africa. But for 4 years, we had participated or watched either passively, by being passive or by being active in the persecution of people from other countries. In broad daylight, people's property was being taken, stolen. MCP boys, together with the army and the police, were going into people's houses. This happened in Malawi. It's not a movie. And I was in Malawi and I spoke out against Chakwera's government. We spoke out against Chakwera's government, but there was little that was done. And it was partly corruption within the government sector. Within the civic space, there was corruption in the civic space. To the point where Inua advocacy, the most vocal and powerful and informed organization when it comes to refugees, when it comes to immigrants, when it comes to people, asylum seekers and all, was banned in Malawi for no reason. Up to now, Minister Mukito, together with the Deputy Minister Chisale, and the Minister of Justice, and all the people that are responsible, they can't tell us why Inua was banned. There are no justifications. The police inspector of police, Dr. Noyo Kaira, the ones that is responsible to work with refugees, and all those, they cannot tell us why Inua, led by Innocent Gambi, was banned in Malawi. This is blatant impunity, where you violate human rights and you are so blatant to it, and you don't care to respect rule of law, and ban an organization that was the last hope for refugees in Malawi. Now, let me speak to the issues. This issue, I'm speaking from a personal experience, because I was part of everything, together with Comrade Charles Kajoloweka, together with late Matanda, Leon Matanda, who attended one of the first press briefings that we had. You can check this out. You can check these things out. You know, before you say Kamangira and the lawyer on Facebook, Kamangira Ango Yanko on Facebook, you are so ignorant, and this ignorance is by choice, because you have all the information to know who Kamangira is. I'm not a random person. I've always told you these things. I'm not an ordinary lawyer you find in Malawi. I'm extraordinary. Counsel extraordinaire, you know, counsel extraordinary. I'm an extraordinary lawyer. But above all, I'm an extraordinary human being. That's what is more important. I am not an ordinary human being. I'm an extraordinary human being. And that's what we all have to be extraordinary human beings before we become extraordinary in our professionals, in our jobs, and in whatever things we're doing. To begin with, Malawi, so I'll be speaking from the information that I was collecting during the time that we're doing advocacy. These things might have developed. Obviously, the numbers that I'll be mentioning, they might have dropped because of the experiences. But by the time this persecution was beginning, 2021, Pana 2023, where these things in Africa Bajimake, Kumalawi, we were hosting about 53,000 refugees and asylum seekers at the Nzarega refugee camp. So Nzarega refugee camp was created to keep people that we can call refugees or asylum seekers. But the moment they then become citizens or become investors, then they are allowed to go and interact or live just like citizens. Now, at this time, we should be aware that we are talking about 53,000 during that time. I don't know now. I haven't spoken to colleagues on the ground on the numbers, but then it was 53,000 refugees. But Nzarega is a 200 hectares land, and so it was meant to accommodate 10,000 refugees, 10,000 refugees and asylum seekers, which meant it was 500 5 times more than what it was meant to take. Overcrowding, like overpopulated, like it's so bad. Like the overpopulation at Nzarega, so bad that when you go there, what you see is the inhumane treatment, the inhumane experience of the people. Now, the plan to relocate refugees to Nzarega becomes more ignorant and more stupid and unjustified and all that when you have these facts. But it's important to know, Guti, according to our observation during this time, the refugees, or most of them, were from DRC. That made of 62%. And then from Burundi, they were just 23%. And then Rwanda had 14%. And then the rest was made up of Somalia, Ethiopians, those that are from Mozambique, Uganda, Eritrea, and other countries that maybe their figures are so minimal that we don't need to mention them. But it's interesting that even people from Mozambique, we have refugees from Mozambique. We have asylum seekers from Mozambique. So that should tell you the nature of refugee status and asylum seeking situation. That it doesn't matter whether your country is far or close. There are circumstances. It's not always about the war that we see, like people shooting each other, which makes people relocate to a different place and seek maybe asylum or seek refugee status where they are. I wanted to make it clear that during this time, it was assumed, or it has been saying over the years, that there were 8,000 refugees and asylum seekers that were roaming around in Blanta, in Lilongwe, and all those kind of places. So, though we had 53,000 being kept at Nzarega, which was meant to keep 10,000, there were 8,000 that were believed to be roaming around in villages and urban places. Now, this is where the bone of contention arises. Now, when I don't want to belabor with the law, there are a lot of laws, but the law that guides in terms of the convention relating to the status of refugees, Malawi is a signatory. But when it was deposited, or when it was being part of that convention, it entered 9 reservations, and some of them were ridiculous because the rules of adopting a convention, you are not allowed to reserve on a provision which basically is the context, essentially speaks to the basis, or speaks to the volume, to the spirit of the convention. So if you can't reserve a provision, so reserving a provision, I'll explain it in detail, but it's basically an exemption. The idea of reservations within a convention are meant to encourage states to sign, because these are voluntary actions that states take. So in terms of international law, you try to attract more people to sign to these conventions. And one of which is to allow people to take reservations if some things are not in line with the policy of that time or the policy direction of that country during that time. So they exempted Article 7 in terms of exemption from reciprocity. They exempted themselves from Article 13, Article 15, Article 17. So immovable property, on rights association, on wage and earning employment. So like they reserve that a refugee, an asylum seeker cannot be in employment to earn a living. So which also speaks to the problems that then you render these people dependent on a government, dependent on you as a government that is keeping these people. Instead of allowing these people to earn a living, to then take care of them. Of course, there are justifications to this, to say, no, we can't allow people from other countries to take the jobs in a country where there are no jobs at all. And also there are those kind of things. But there are consequences to this, because if then you do not allow these people to work, to earn a living, then the powers or rather the responsibility, the right word is the responsibility to take care of these people lies on the government. And that's where you have to balance. There was also a reservation on reservations on liberal professionals. There was a reservation on public education. They were not allowed to attend education, the public education that is offered. The freedom of movement, they were not having freedom there. But also Article 34, naturalization. They were not allowed to naturally become citizens of Malawi by virtue of staying in Malawi for a long time. And our Refugee Act was a 1989 one at that time. And there have been proposals for reform. I don't know where we are with that. But look, this might not be attractive to a lot of Malawians, especially the conversation for people about the rights of people from other countries. But the reality is, how you treat people from other countries, how your government treats people from other countries, reflects how your government treats you as citizens. Anywhere in the world, how foreigners are treated by the government does reflect how the government treats its own citizens. And I spoke during this time when it just began. I said, when this government, as this government is going after the refugees, then when they are done with the refugees, they will come after you. And it happened. It happened. We had Panga people. After they were done in 2024, in 2025, we had boys with Panga knives after Malawians. We had a woman who went to protest as a teacher, demanding better lives, better salary, demanding better welfare for fellow teachers. She was hacked in Ilongwe. And there's nothing that has happened up to now. Hacked right in Ilongwe. So I spoke about this in 2023 to say, when this government is done with the refugees, they will come after you. People, hey, you are protecting foreigners. Exactly what happened. And I'll get to that, because this is a honey, Yaman refugees, immigrants, asylum seekers, politicized. And that's what exactly the playbook which the Chakwera government used, where after their failure to run government, after their failure to start, meeting or fulfilling the promises they made with their Tonse Alliance in manifesto, then they stayed around to say it is these refugees that are failing you. We are failing to to meet the needs of our citizens because of refugees, because of people from other countries. It's the playbook of all government that have failed its citizens. Nimafuna kuti ningofotokoza apo ka background ndisanapitirize kunena kuti panalisoma commitment ambiri ngati Malawi inapanga a committee in 2016 to Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework, the CRRF, and the Global Refugee Forum in 2019, and pledged to incorporate refugees into the National Development Agenda, which is very critical. If your country has to progress, you take the best and you use also the rest contribute to the development of the country. The reform its legal framework and also to support self-reliance of refugees through increased livelihood activity. So that's very critical. Where you should have a particular policy on refugee law or on refugees in your country that enables self-reliance of refugees, because then it improves productivity of the country. So instead of hatred, instead of looking at refugees as people that are taking your opportunities, the same ignorant statements that South Africans are making on other foreigners within South Africa, to think that the foreigners are taking their jobs, which is never justified. Because when you look at South Africa, you find that you look at the economy, you know, like how much economy is run by black people, and all. You find that the white people in South Africa manage the economy. You know, they are the people that dominate the economy. They are the ones that but there's never been a xenophobia or an attack on white people, and that's where the black man is sad reality. A black person is a sad reality, because it's a poverty mentality where poor people are very good at killing each other and fighting each other, where the well-to-do protect each other no matter what. So I'll give you an example. If someone steals in a community or in the villages, they steal clothes, or they are found stealing petty things like pots or kitchenware, or even a TV. Let's assume a TV within our villages, even in our townships. When they are caught, they are beaten. If they are caught, they are beaten to death. If they are lucky, they will get to the police, but really hurt and needing immediate medical attention. But usually they are actually bent for stealing clothes outside, second-hand clothes, or stealing kitchenware, or stealing very appliances, electrical appliances. If the same action is done by a politician who steals billions, they will be worshiping him and protecting him. Even after he's dead, they will protect him. He was great, that man. He was stealing billions from you. Your children were dying in the hospital. Because people are quick to say, you protect the criminals. You always defend the thieves. Thieves don't have rights. They do. They are human beings. A thief has rights. A suspect, worse still, a suspect has got rights. A suspect is a human being. He or she is a human being. And a convict has got rights. They have rights because they are human beings. As long as somebody is a human being, they've got. So poor people hate themselves too much that they kill each other. But when a criminal of the highest order, a politician like Lazarus Chakwera, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera has stolen billions, if not trillions, from Malawians. But what happens? The poor Malawians will protect him and cover him. Bwana, hey, boss, big man, boss, you are the one. Hey, you speak good English. Hey, you are very calm. You speak, you are a pastor. A pastor does not steal from people. A God-fearing man does not steal from people. Chakwera stolen from Malawians billions, but he's protected. No one would even stone him. No one is even allowed to speak badly of him. Mbagiri Munuzi stole billions from Malawians. He has continued to steal in his clever way. But there are clear 1-point-something billion that he stole by 2000s. By 2001 time too, he had stolen that money. He has kept on being respected as the father of the nation. Dr. Hastings Kamusbanda stole billions. He was, in today's value, he stole a lot. He was richer than the country at some point, but he still was. So I can go on and on, but the point I'm driving at is black people, they hate each other, that when they're doing xenophobia, which is meant to fight foreigners, the foreigners that they target will be black people. The Indians in their community will not be touched. The white people that are there illegally will not be touched. It's something that the black person has to rise up. You need to rise up. Because people from Rwanda, from Burundi, people from other countries, in fact, in Africa, should not even have been requiring to have a visa to come in the country. Should not even be required, because they're Africans. Africa should be open to Africans. But black people, you are stupid. You can't even be blaming the white people. The white people did their crimes against black people. Now it's our time. We continue to commit crimes against ourselves. The story of Malawi, chasing, killing, raping, stealing property from people from Burundi, from people from Rwanda, people from DRC. It's the most hypocritical, ludicrous, stupid thing a nation can do. And that to be foreseen, to be overseen by a government, to be overseen by the military, to be overseen by the police is shameful, to say the least. But it's unbelievable. And the fact that up to now we haven't heard accountability, even intentions to follow. In fact, the current government, there are also some gangsters within that government that are trying to also steal from refugees, to continue stealing. And that's why they wouldn't want Inua to come. And the biggest of all more, maybe I might forget this, there is human trafficking that is connected to issues of people from other countries. And some people in authority and some people in places of power, they are mentioned in the issue of human trafficking. And this issue is ripe. There is a huge investigation that is ongoing. The people are aware, the people that are in government are involved. Some people that are out of government are involved. Human trafficking is one of the reasons why Nhani Yama refugee imango ponderezedwa. Because some people benefit through trafficking people that are desperate. I know the key players involved in this human trafficking. They are powerful, but they are not impenetrable. They are powerful, but they are not gods. They are human beings, so we're going to get them down. But today, I'm focusing as I celebrate, or I commemorate, because it's not a celebration, but a of this population. 3 years, because it began strictly, beginning or more concretely in May, on 17th May 2023, and today is 17th May 2026. So 3 years, no justice. Justice must be done. I don't know if I should go on to communicate, to speak to this in terms of the details of this issue. But the key issues that we observed as civil society, people that were on the ground, we observed that there were gross human rights violations that included rape. Women were raped. There was theft of and loss of property. There were extortions, asking money for people to save themselves. There were robberies, daylight robberies, clear cut, crystal clear robberies. There were unlawful prison detentions of not limited, but including children and women. Yes, we had children and women at Maula prison, which is unacceptable. You can't arrest people for these kind of offenses. The law is clear on this. But people were being loaded in military vehicles, matata muja mazaza, and kumakatenga usiku matuemu, as if they were criminals, as if they were. Oh, I have no words for Chakwera's government, and Chakwera has a lot of answers to give to the world, not only to Malawi, but Chakwera. In many vicarious as the president. There's so many things that were happening, evil things that should never happen in a country that has got a president. And we're still a president that claims to know Christ. These Christians in Malawi, we cannot progress in that country if we don't start calling each other to account for our actions, both in the human structure and government, in criminal, in our red tables of morality. Because we claim to be exemplary, and then you have a whole Christian who becomes president and oversees military and party cadres that are raping women because they are from other countries, that are stealing property in palima video ambili including nkhani ya kusalima ija imene jai mendita ikambe ndikakhala ndi nthawi because I was involved directly in the case ya munthu amene anaberedwa around 40 million in Salima ndi apolisi komanso anyamata achipani. But panali ma video ambiri mulilongwe anthu amapita ku shop paja kufika wepa chandu kusegwa kumatenga katundu kumamenya anthu chinamba president ali ku state house basi akuyankhula kumayankhulira mphuno. Like, how did we get there? Now, apart from these things, I think I should clarify that the whole idea that government was trying to do was to apparently relocate the refugees from places that are not supposed to be found to Nzareka. Remember, Nzareka at that time had 53,000 people in an environment that was supposed to keep 10,000 people. Do you see the lack of wisdom? Like, things didn't make sense. Nothing was adding up. And at that time, funding for the Nzareka was already going down. In fact, they were putting out a lot of funding in terms of refugee. The UNHRC, the United Nations, amayang'anira zama ufula anthu obwera kutoka maiko ena pazifuka zosiyana. Now, the issues that just to highlight, there were brutal human rights violations. Brutal, not just the mere human rights violations. We found that there were arbitrary detention, torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment of refugees and asylum seekers. I can say so many things that there were evidence. I've got names of refugees that faced these specific names, and I have a client that I was also representing who was in hiding. You know, there was detention of refugee and asylum seeking children. Anna, you know, Amamangilo. There were issues, allegations. There were other people, other women that were alleging that they were sexually abused, especially the females. You know, it was bad. There was issues of confiscation of property and businesses. There is evidence, there are videos, you know. There was so many things that happened and examples. I've got a whole document that I can share at an appropriate time that shows all these. There was corruption, impunity of abuse of office. You know, there were people like Johnny Nyonkuru, who was tricked and extorted $60,000. They could do $60,000 by officials from UNHRC, IOM, and Malawi government officials. And this was money given or obtained to help him to appear on the list to resettle, for resettlement. So I can give one example. There's a female refugee that reported that she had slept with 3 officials who promised to secure a resettlement. There are so many, and these things were being released, and a lot of it were coming from, of course, the Jesuits have got an approach that they engage with refugees. Amazing work they're doing. But Inua advocacy brought out a lot of things because they were deep into working with the refugees, and they knew a lot, and their project was going amazing. Was doing amazing, was going great, was going to achieve so many things. They were the first aid for refugees. You know, they were present, they were living. Enua was living with the refugees right at the camp. They were right at the camp and engaging with, just as of course the Jesuits fathers, the Jesuits have got, you know, their own outreach, which is amazing. But Inua, how did we let Inua go? How did we let the government chase Inua for no reason? There were revocation of citizenship. And when just because my refugees they were forced to give money, people stole millions from these people. They even took. Do you remember that there was an allegation that these people were keeping guns in their containers, and they were keeping machines that they were using to make fake money. And they took so many containers of belonging to the people of Burundi, Rwanda, and of course DRC, who, when we stay with these people, we learn that they actually are hardworking. Their shops are open. They're the first shops to be open. But not only with my Facebook. So not only do they are they the first ones to open the shops, but they are the last ones to close the shops. But further, when you go to their shops, you find everything you need at once. You want to buy some credit, you find credit. Hey, you might need some. You want this? Their shops have always been comprehensive for years. So they attract customers like that, and they in the business of ensuring that they sell more than they sell one thing at an expensive and exorbitant price. So they would rather sell something at a lower price, but sell it 10 times. So instead of selling something 150, they'll sell it 100 kwacha, but they will sell 20 things. While a Malawian we want to put the thing that is you should have put at 120, which a Burundi or someone from another guy has put at 100, he would want to put it at 1,000. So you will sell 2 things or 1 thing a month, and in the end, the things will expire and all sorts of things. They have a business acumen, like they have the intelligence. They are financially intelligent. They know the value of money, the way they handle things, and that's what we lack. And we thought that, no, they are taking our jobs, they are taking our markets, they are taking our places. And that's what the politician does. So, including, apart from those mere speculations, they raised allegations, goody, makontenao, these people, and hamene wao bwerawa, akutilanda nchilo zatu, akulanda nchilo za nanu, kumanso, akusungira zida za nkhondo. Pana tuka nkhani nditu mpana ku bomwa lacha kwela ndopanda manyazi ndipo likuenda kuti momota zili mbana zokaika nkhata apepesa Malawi mu different now apepesa anthu ako Burundi ako Rwanda atipepese ifeyo poti onesanga anthu oyipa kapena kuti phunzisa kuwanamiza anthu ngati kuti ya muli zigawenga menemo anatchula chigawenga china chake chimene chinagwidwa zaka za mbuyo ndi America. Like they are not even educated to understand kuti kunama kumafunika sonzeru. Ama mukhala ngati chigoba chabakili News TV. You are running government mene hazo bela maendesera page ya Bagili News. Like that. Where you would go and like, hey, Alex Suzy, anapeleka mimba kwa huyu, osanchula zina mtu yo, osatanda. And then, because Malawians are good, because Malawians in those zizia, some, not all, but some will learn with it and all that. And that's how the Jagwira government was wanting to run. You can't run a government that many hazo bela maendesera chigoba jage Jabagili News TV. You can't do that. It's just a no. I get pissed off because Malawians are intelligent, we are brilliant people, we are hardworking, we are nice people, we are kind. And then you have the government acting like a wolf to fellow Africans. And these are things that I'm telling you for real. And Zikale Ngoma oversaw this. I'm a Kaniga for 1 year when I was in Malawi. My civil society organization. But he was a minister of Homeland. He's one of the most stupid people I've ever met or I've never seen. He's not even conscious of the atrocities that he has committed to people. He smiles. What are you smiling, stupid man? Like, you, Zikale Ngoma, unazuzisa nzimu wa Africans. Just to gain money. Just to make money. Just to steal from them. Evil people. Stephen Kayuni had been a career civil servant. Brilliant. Did his law degree, did his master's, did his PhD. From a proper university. Human rights even. From a proper university in the UK. And he was continuing He was one of the best prosecutors that I know. Koma pamene anangoyamba kuona ngati andi mphamvu, power got to him, and he thought bas he can do all sorts of things. Pamene anakhala close ndi chakwera amangoona ngati bas. And do you know who empowered Dr. Steve Kayuni kumabanga zake zawo tsiru zimene mabanga? It was Anthony Gamanga, retired. They were like this, the Anthony Gamanga. Ndipo team versus zino. Steve Kayuni and Anthony Gamanga anali chonchi kulikose even mannerism as Steve Kayuni another sinta. Amafuna kumayankhula ngati mene amayankhulira Anthony Gamanga. And that's how powerful Anthony Gamanga is. He gets into people and gets people because he's worshipped, respected. He has done great work. Drafting, he's one of the best drafters ever. But if somebody was a Solicitor General for years and years, he was Attorney General before, he ran the Ministry of Justice for years, and then he rose to the rank of the Judge of the Supreme Court. You can't then go back to the ministry, director. That's nonsense. The ministry, there's a reason why they put Anthony Gamanga where he is, in Nkani ya corruption, Yakatangai. Dude should leave the Ministry of Justice. And in here, a Charles Muhango, osango kala kumene kumbwetete batu luka mamina ku ministry. Why do you have Anthony Gamanga as kulinde maloya kunja? You mean the ministry doesn't have young people that have learned the art of drafting? You should be having Muntamela Banga graduate law school 20 years. I mean, not 20 years. I mean, 50 years ago. Somebody who graduated the law school 50 years ago as a director today. Anthony Nobanda Jison, you enjoy raping other people, raping the constitution, raping the law, raping the law, raping the rule of law at your own benefit, but at your own pleasure. Steve Kayuni anaziona kuti wafika hapo to the point where he oversaw all these things. I know what I'm talking about. Stephen Kayuni, and then who was the judge who was managing everything? Makesi wose abambobusa Nzigamanda, because that guy is evil. Nzigamanda, whoever nkaya ndino abambwanu ndo yangani na mpingo ina wake ndaku mpingo amacheza nao ndanzanu Nzigamanda ndo pepe ndo mbwambwana. There's no leadership in the judiciary. There hasn't been leadership since he's becoming the Chief Justice. Deputy Chief Justice Ajikoba ama ngwasunta ngati kuti ndichopondera kwadu kaika apa chopondera umatha kuchitenga kuchika kusogolo kwa nyumba ma ukachika kumbuyo kuseri kwa nyumba sikuna ukachika ku toilet sikuna ukachika ku bafa sikuna ukachika ku bedroom. You can move chopondera. That's how Mzigamanda has been treated by Love Mochikopa, and the whole judiciary is aware of this. So this Mzigamanda guy, who is supposed to be our Chief Justice, without any justifications. He doesn't have a prior history of human rights, of refugee law, and all that. If there was anyone at that time, it was Professor Kapindu, who should have got, if there was any justification to be, maybe because we know he's educated or in the regard of humanitarian law. I have not forgotten what you did, Mzigamanda, with refugees, because I called you out during that time, and I have not forgotten how Kenyatta Nyirenda, what he did to the refugees. Amango carry the makesi. Amango carry, and there's systematic, there's empirical evidence to what I'm telling you. We can't, as a country, allow and and get away. We can't. We can't go, and people have to be held accountable. And it is the treatment of our fellow Africans in a very shameful manner, in an illegal way, was led by Azikari Ngoma, by Dr. Steve Kayuni, and by Kenyatta Nyirenda. Sukuti ndokhawa kuti chigulu, including anyamata achipani, and milandu imene inali ku court before Michongwe, worship Michongwe, and before, and the defense lawyer was Kwima Mchizi, my now friend Kwima Mchizi, and who was prosecuting Boma and the many mabanga prosecute anyamata maka amene anakabanda lama kusalima. Muntamene at some point became my client, so he disclosed to me everything, and it was sad how these people are being treated, including by immigration. Immigration was at the heart of violating the rights of these people. The way a government treats foreigners, the vulnerable, the most vulnerable people, reflects the status of your civilization as a country. I have made arguments, I have argued for years that the way a country treats the most vulnerable population reflects the status at which their civilization is at. Ngati anthu tili quick kuponderezana mdziko lathu kuwagwirirana chaku, there's a lot of instances of kugwirira or human trafficking or depressing or corporal punishment, and people move on. If Musa John is arrested and kunamizidwa mlandu kumangidwa paka kupassidwa 9 years sentence or 8 years sentence kumpilisaso kundende ya anthu akuluakulu, and simukusuntha anthu dziko anthu simukuona kuti it shows kuti dziko lanu silinapite pachitsogolo. Or beyond that, issue ya rule of law. So tikambakamba za constitution, ndikufuna ndizipanga ma conclusion. Tikambakamba nkhani ya constitution, malamulo amene analembedwa amene timanena kunena kuti ni malamulo akulu a dziko lino amateteza anthu. The rights that are there under the chapter 4, is it chapter 4? I've forgotten. But from section 15 of the constitution, I think for the 6 or for the 8, thereabouts, that chunk, chapter 4, I suspect, that discusses human rights. It's not just for Malawians, it's for every human being. Hello? Because these are obvious. Koma zikamachitika zimaoneka kuti si za obvious. Where and to think kunena kuti constitution ija maufulu amene amapereka ndi a Malawi wokha ba. No. Ndi a anthu. If you are a human being, you are entitled to the rights that are prescribed or that are provided for in the constitution of that country. This is the same mentality some Americans had, some uneducated Americans had during recent or still have when it comes to foreigners, how they were treating foreigners. Kunali ma shooting ambiri ku America of American citizens, and kuwabanga ma arrest and mavuto amene they're not unique. Andale wamene amatembenuzira zinthu akulephera kulayendesa kufuna kunamizira anthu obwera. It's not unique. Kumapeto kwake zimene anapanga MCP adagwira makontena, ni makamba za makontena aja after some time zisunga oka ma order amene amaperekedwa ku court obalalika oka akinyata nyenda wena kumangidwa. Just give me some time. But he has to be arrested for so many reasons, including my issues zakajaji. In fact, Kenya nyenda wina umangidwa just nkhani ya kajaji mena na yendesera nkhani ya kajaji. But there are so many things. Wakuba menoja, he's very corrupt. Is he hardworking? Yes. Sometimes does he write judgments? Yes, Kenyatta Nyenda is hardworking. He writes judgments. Yes, ama yesesa kulemba ma judgment. But dude is corrupt. Aboma aja analanda makontena aja kukhala nawo miezi kena wakuti iyayi tibwere tonse tizaone tuzapanga search inu zinthu zimakhala nazo zaka like Who advises the police? During this time, I'm not advising my police in the like, how can you keep something for years, for months, and then say disaster using? Kuma podi police again the atulo, anatsegula zinthu zakuseja, ataseja anapeza kuti munali demo zimausa amana mazija. There was one container man anapeza bullets, but he didn't explain. There were no guns as they said. There was no machines making money. They had no justification for taking those containers. So those people that lost their property, sukuti anasoa kabena kuli chanchani, kali ku Rwanda, kali ku Burundi. Inua advocacy has all documentation, and the government of Malawi will pay. And that's why we need to hold to account these people. These people from these people that were responsible for making decisions and also were on the ground. This is very critical. Antu amene anabanga izi ndikuyang'anayang'ana makontena aja kuwasungira anthu makontena awo, mabizinesi awo kuwasokonezera. They are free. Amene anajera ndalama mmene muja mmakani zinthu zambiri mbiri. Those people had, maBurundi amalimbikira, amalwandizi amalimbikira, anthu obwera ochokera maiko ena amalimbikira mene anthu ochoka ku Malawi akapita dziko lina amalimbikira. Simungaziwenso inu mmene amagwirira ntchito, how hard working they are. Simungatiziwenso ife monga tili ku Malawi tinkapanga malive chonchi. Tatuoneni pano mmene tikulimbikirira malive kufotokoza. These lives take a lot of energy. Koma chifukwa tili kunja taphunzira utima ukaenda muja umaphunzira zinthu, umayang'ana anthu mmene akwa ndio umakhala kuti zonse zikudalira iweyo. Lero sikuti ukakhala kuti ulibe nchere upita kwa neighbor chanchani ungopanga za iweyo kuti ababa lenti yanga ndipeze fwa ndeti kakanika. So people learn to work hard, and that's what happens with the Burunders. If I'm gonna successful, there's nothing else. Uta kupangirani mankhwala kapena kuti akutantani amalimbikira, and mumaziona so in you. I remember vividly that time ukamaenda ma trading onse amayita kumvesa chisoni. Investor chisoni, ma trading shops were closed. People could not access them, and kumakani ndama kumalipira kugula ifodi zinthu zonse zindi maBurundi Malawi because anthu andamene amatagwira. Of course corruption comes in as well, because you create an environment where these people cannot work sometimes unless they are corrupt. They can't get any service unless they are corrupt, so they are forced to be corrupt. Koma nimalizise ndi nkhani ni magamba ya worship mijongwe, nkhani ya council, defense council, Kwima Mchizi, the prosecution of the case that involved stealing of about 38 or 40 million in Salima, which has evidence. Had zinthu zinatengedwa pakamera ndithu anthu amakabandira mazija akuwaona osaziwa kuti akujambulidwa. CCTV captured everything. Andidu Burundi ameneyi anadusa mzambiri, because at some point I represented him. I tried to help him. I wrote, if you go to immigration, there's a letter that I wrote the immigration over this client. So I'm talking from personal experience. How even I have got an email that I can show you response from the boss at the immigration at that time, Kudi Mamudi Ndani, Director General, Anamangida Pompanui, die. Responding to me, because the people feel they are in power, and what happens? He ends up being arrested. How do you arrest an old man like that? Today, I'm the one now who is defending. So that's how advocates work. We are consistent. You need us all the time. In your politicians, Malawi, awawa mene angupanga zao, akupanga tima business zao kajanjan. They need advocates like me that are honest and that stand on truth. But you and I, iniole la mene mukuti nyoza, aina kamsiamo, Inu ajina kamsiyamo mukuzona ngati kuti you can play around, you are clever. Mukuti so why fail to kupanga protecting you when you are fighting corruption. Because when they arrest you, they can keep you in jail. Ajina kamsiyamo. Kamsiyamo you are nobody kaya panoba. You still panoba kumadu hey chanchani hey mukumunde pesa president watu. Au pweteka antu kaya. Stephen Baba Munde. You should wake up. You are not clever. Because if you're clever, you should lead around what's going on around you. And I'm trying to protect you. I'm kumanga nkani yako yoruna ndandana 65 million. Zabu ino mumboniti now. You are kumanga. Andale mumalimbana ndi anthu ngati ine. Pamene ineyo ndina mene you need me consistent. I'm the most consistent person. The civil society, real civic space is needed for your protection. Kumacha kuira amene analowa udindo chifukwa cha civil society kumenyera apo. Ndamene anthu onse aja kwatumiza kunja. Anthu onse achina Mike Tembo, achina Maya Bire, achina very vocal, and the people that had been doing advocacy for years and years, achina Mkweza Amba. You guys are inkwezamba mwini mulandu kuno. Tingo kudikirani gaiti, kufuna gaiti kutolendi mwini mulandu mapala mwanspompa na nkwezamba. The civic space for ages ya kayubangi darani, nditi mida antu, amene amabanga advocacy, because we are beginning a reformation of civic space. Imene and Hasbanga civic human rights work, my NGOs Hasbangirwa, because people are passionate, because they are able, they have my skills, and because they want to help people. Another my civic space is a color for the people, not even for the donors, because there's also other civic spaces that are for the donors. We're ending that. It might take time, and that's when we are going to see real money in the civic space. And most of you human rights advocates, because you are advocates for your stomachs, and they take advantage. They know how poor you are, so they take advantage. These donors, they are not charity people. they are business people. You think they have an embassy in your country to help you? They are in your country to help themselves, guy. All these, the British, the Americans, the Germans, whoever you call there in the country, an embassy in any country is there to serve the interests of its country. That's why it's mentioned to go figure embassy. That's the whole concept, guy. You are Jamapanga that Zigulao. So even fighting corruption, you can't depend the fight against corruption, depend it and leave it in the hands of the Americans, leave it in the hands of the British. They are the beneficiaries of corruption in Malawi. Inuyo ma British amene muli ku Malawi ku embassy, inuyo ma Americans amene muli ku Malawi ku embassy, inuyo ma Germans you are especially the British and the Americans. You can leave the rest maybe in the Germans. You can leave. You are beneficial to the corruption. Ndikupa sanjisanzo. Kodi sata meno wakana kuba material na Malawi tax. Manyumba yake anagula kutiko. Drama zake amasunga kutiko. In the UK. So the money that has been stolen from, why is that possible? How does the British government allow drama zobedo za Malawi kumaka Leicester City? Mungu go on. The politicians are enablers of these British to keep on stealing from Malawians. And that's why these people cannot create a funding for Alexius to fight corruption, because they know who they can't control. They can give money to, they can give Naama Charles Kajorweka. He's not a bad guy, but he can be remote controlled, Kajorweka. That's why they can give him all the money. Kajorweka has been getting funding for fighting corruption in Malawi. He's enjoyed Yasi. Can you show us what corruption he has been fighting? And that's why Ajina Baba Amachura Kajorweka in the fight against you. I enjoy Mina in the Charles Kajorweka. He has been getting money from the UK embassy. What corruption has he been fighting? What are you talking about? Lighting lighters? Are you serious? Dabanga divert, diversion meaning you're the next course of action in the next weeks nilikamba za mining. And pamene mumzaziwe kuti azungu anda agalu. Azungu anda akuba pano bet. The office of the Honorable Attorney General ikubanga kesi ija yaku America imene akunena kuti company kwena ipeleke material. If we have to go to America ukabanga kesi yathu and all that, why do we have an embassy in Malawi, American embassy? Why doesn't the American embassy help Malawi to recover its money in America? How did an American company allow to steal from Malawians, and the embassy, the American embassy, is watching? What is the role of the American embassy? What is the benefit? George Chaponda, what is the benefit of the American embassy in Malawi? If an American company comes to Malawi, kuri kuzabanga mining, ndukibela Malawi, and inyo mbanga watch and you're allowing it, and mufuna kuti zita kukabanga ag. These are things that two governments should just meet and discuss. In fact, the American government owes us money. If we are in partnership as a sovereignty company, governments or countries that are self ruling to themselves and they are in partnership, that a citizen or a company registered in America, ngati yabandalama Malawi ndikutawira kwina kuli kwose, government ya America ndimene kwina upanga payback. Simple. Ndamena kwina upa iwona zikathamangisana ndi citizen wawo ndi company yomwe ipanga register. These are basic things. Koma muli ndi anthu amene amasogolera dziko ogunata, or they are thinking apeza ka $1 million kamene atabe agawane pamene anthu amene akuonera kuti azikubera ni ma resources anu miyala ya mtengo watata doti wa mtengo wapatali, they are getting billions in dollars. You are kugawana ka 100,000, 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. Akuona kuti apindula ndalama zambiri, but they are creating generation poverty. They are creating generation poverty. And you, the young people, you're watching. You're watching and clapping hands for these fools, for these criminals, for these thieves. And you're calling out Kamangira as being mad. You're calling out Kamangira and Obanda Kant, Kamangira Obanga Sanji. Kwima, worship me John, cancel Kwima, cancel Jesus Kwima. Worship me John. The prosecutor that was prosecuting kesi ya kusalima, Yomina incident ya kusalima, they have to be investigated. That case has to come back. Anaibanga dismiss agudi umboni sumabwera, which is stupid. Even the court was complicit to the court inali mbali mozi yo vomera zimene zikuzichitike. You see, court liwena kubanga analyze into. Kodi anthu amene amakabandalama kuna nali a police. Okay, munaliso achipani, yes. So anthu achipaniwa mukuona ngati a police angabereka achipani ngati a police anali. So kusabwera kwa mboni kapena kusabweresa umboni ku court, it was part of the prosecution, because how were they going to bring evidence without implicating their own officers? And the court, the worship meeting allows that case to be disarmed. Next time mukabwera opanda ndiwanga dismiss. No, as a court you have to go over and above the basics. The court of justice has to look above the basics. You enabled and watched and rewarded violation of human rights on refugees. And a Kristu ambili asilamu munapanga watch. You didn't do anything. Contrary to the Quran, contrary to the Bible. What Christianity mene mupanga practice kumalawi ndiyo dani? Because the Bible talks about these things. Dinalibe pokhala. I was homeless and you opened your door for me. It's a refugee. The Bible talks about it's a refugee. So which Christianity? Kodi kucheche mukamapita leo mapita makampira matani. You watched, you didn't say anything about refugees being raped, about being refugees, and even the human rights advocates agenda. Muma classic Malawi Human Rights Commission on refugees, you are useless. Malawi lawless society. How can Malawi law society allow what happened to these refugees? And what the Malawi law society was doing was then to call me to disciplinary for calling them for calling their bullshit out. Could you know Malawi law society by my journalists, can you ask the Malawi law society to tell you what they did on refugees? There's nothing. I spoke about this in 2023 and 2024. Malawi Human Rights Commission not doing anything. It's not standing up for nkhani ya refugees. Ni nkhani ya ikulu. Ni nkhani ya ikulu kuposa nkhani ya ngozi ya ndege. Anthu ambiri mukwiya, anthu ambiri these things are not competing to each other, but they're always priorities. Chimene ndikupempha njonena kuti pamene mukupanga inquiry ya ngozi ya ndege, you should not ignore the call for an inquiry the happenings, the violations of rights on refugees in Malawi. This is an international issue. This is violations of rights. Ndakuuzani mwachuchuchu many malamulo amaendera. What the constitution protects, it doesn't protect rights of citizens. It protects rights of human beings. Anthu ambiri tili ndi chionetso chimene maonetsa kuti ndife wotere pamene tili chabe. Anthu ambiri timayima uleni ndimakonda malamulo. I love justice. What justice do you love? I love truth and I stand on truth. Okay, which truth are you standing on? In the lawyer. What? If you're a lawyer, how can you be a lawyer and not stand for the law? You can't be a lawyer and kumagwizana ndi client wanu kuti mubise chilungamo. Lawyers don't do that. A lawyer is supposed to do. As I conclude, I call upon Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika. I call upon the Minister of Homeland and Security. I call upon the Minister of Justice to look into the violations of rights of refugees, asylum seekers, and all these people. It's very unfortunate and unbelievable that anthu ambiri amene anamangidwa, amene anapangidwa chipongwe, analinso anthu amene anasanduka Malawi, ndipo without being heard anapangira revoke their citizenship, unjustifiably so, without being heard. Pali nkhani yonena kuti chakwera analandira ndalama kuchokera kwa president wa ku Rwanda Paul Kagame. Nkhani imene mukuyena muifufuze inu amene muli boma lero amene muti imira ife. Pali clear nkhani yoonesa kunena kuti anthu aja anatengedwa advantage, anthu amagwiriridwa, anthu amachitidwa zambirimbiri. We need, as a country, we can't move on. Chifukwa mukawerenga mlandu wa the Msundo case, where Hilda was a lawyer for women lawyers, and panazachuluka so maisha ama cost. The judgment ya Msundo case inabanga establish kuti violation, when there is a violation of human rights, failure to remedy the violations is a violation in itself. And this is a very important principle of law. Because if you don't remedy human rights when they are violated, then it renders provisions or proclamation of human rights useless. It renders them castles in the air. It renders them like what in land law we learn, property in thin air. You know, when there's a right, there is an obligation. When there is a right, there is an obligation. When there's a right holder, and then there's a duty bearer. There's a reason why we have that. So you have a right, you have an obligation. You have a right holder, you have a duty bearer. And these things interact. Human rights, see declaration, see Malwajabi, they are there for a reason. The violations of rights for people that came from other countries, whether in the capacity as refugees, asylum seekers, or investors, or indeed people, the violations of their rights should be concerned to every Malawian. Dziko osatira malamulo limaina kusatira malamulo posatengera kuti kusatira malamulo kukupanga benefit ndani. Dziko limene limaina kusatira malamulo limaina kukwiya ndi kupanga demand justice posatengera kuti kuphwanya kwa malamulo kunapondereza ndani. Osati ndimapfatizimbana mwa maforeigners anthu. That's not how a country that adheres to the rule of law operates. Let us pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Kulapa, Mungu wanga ndikulapa zaleba zanga zonse, chifukwa ndinu abwino ndokondeka ndithu, ndiwalanga anthu ochimwa. Mundithandize nchaulere chanu kuti ndisachimwenso ame. Ulemu ukhale kwa Atate ndi kwa Mwana ndi kwa Mzimu Woyera. Monga panali poyamba, tsopano ndi masiku onse, ndi pa nthawi zosatha. Mtima woyera wa Ambuye Yesu, muchite chisoni. Mtima woyera wa Ambuye Yesu, muchite chisoni. Mtima woyera wa Ambuye Yesu, muchite chisoni. Kupemphera anthu akufa, Ambuye mapasa anthu akufa chisoyo chosatha. Ndipo kuwala kosatha kuwalitse maso awo awuse ndi mtendere. Amen. Kupemphera anthu akufa, Ambuye mapasa anthu akufa chisoyo chosatha. Ndipo kuwala kosatha kuwalitse maso awo awuse ndi mtendere. Amen. Pamene tikukagona, Ambuye tikhalani nafe, tumizani mngelo wanu kuti atiyang'anire. Ena amene ali kuyenda usiku atetezeni, awunikireni. Ndipo amene ali mchipatala achizeni ndi kukhala nawo. Ndipo amene aonekeredwa zovuta, amene aluza abale awo, akhala nawo atonthozeni. Ndipo alimbiseni nthawi ya mavuto ngati imeneyi. Tikupemphera anthu onse amene anafa pa ngozi ya ndege ya kuchikangawa. Anthu onse ali mu mtendere. Amen. M'dzina la Atate ndi la Mwana ndi la Mzimu Woyera. Amen. Nkhani ya refugees yangoyamba. Nkhani ya refugees yangoyamba. Lero sindi panga open on TikTok because I'm very tired, I'm exhausted, I need rest, and ndikufunirani sabata yopambana. Zambiri zikuchitika ndipo zichitika. Amalawi ndinu amene mukulepheresa kuti katangale athe chifukwa choti simukuzuka. Ndi nthawi yoti aliyense azuke ndi kupangapo mbali yake. Amen.